All righty. I would like to bring the June 26, 2023 Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Roll call. Supervisor Lewis,
Present.
Supervisor Lyons,
Here.
and Supervisor Day and McDaniel are ill today, so they will not be here. And the chair is here. The vice chair is here. We will now have a prayer for the board, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Those attending are not required to participate, but if you would like to join us, please stand.
Holy Spirit, we ask you to look after the health of our peers who are unable to make it this evening, and fill our county, state, and national political leaders with wisdom, understanding, discernment, and knowledge. Grant them favor, increase their faith, and prepare them to pursue your excellence. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will hold citizens' comments near the beginning of the meeting. We will do our best to take citizen comments remotely. There are two options for citizens to offer comment. To join by telephone, you may dial in to one of the numbers listed on the county website. Webinar ID and password are there for your convenience. Citizens wishing to simply view the meeting live or after the fact can do so on the Rockbridge County Board of Supervisors YouTube channel, also available on the county website. If you wish to make a citizen comment as a Zoom meeting participant, you will use the raise your hand feature. You can press the raise hand button on the bottom of your Zoom window or press 9 if you're calling by telephone. Changes to the agenda. Are there any changes?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Recognitions and presentations. Mr. Lewis?
We do have a resolution. Well, we have a couple, but I was excited about this one for Charles Chuck Barger III, who I've been fortunate enough to know for quite a while and have worked with in several different areas in the county, and I really appreciate all his time and effort that he's put into it. So I will read a resolution presented to Charles W. Barger III, who served on the Rockbridge County Tourism Corridor Overlay Board from July 2002 until April of 2023. Whereas Chuck was appointed to the Rockbridge County Tourism Corridor Overlay Board upon its creation on July 8, 2002, and has diligently served as a dedicated member of the board for over 20 years. And whereas Mr. Barger served as the chairman of the board from August 3, 2005 until April 8, 2023. And whereas Mr. Barger, during his extensive service on the TCO board, aided the county in developing the design and construction guidelines for the TCO, ensuring new development within the corridor met the appearance and architectural standards of the overlay district, and continued the quality of development along the corridor. And whereas Mr. Barger included among the many projects assisted with are the development of Devil's Backbone Outpost and Brewing Facility, Dominion Power Area Headquarters, Sleep Inn Hotel, the Hunter Hill Bank Building, and Hunter's Crossing Business Park, and the VDOT Residency Office. Whereas Mr. Barger has also assisted in overseeing many redevelopment projects, including Lehigh Travel Center, Fancy Hill Area Convenience Stores, and McDonald's. And whereas projects that were reviewed by Mr. Barger while Mr. Barger served on the TCO and are currently under construction include the True Hotel by Hilton, Residence Inn by Marriott, Dunkin' Donuts, and Starbucks. And whereas with every project, Mr. Barger was considerate of each applicant and conducted meetings in a respectful, efficient, and unbiased manner. Now, therefore, be it resolved that members of the Rockbridge County Board of Supervisors wish to express their deepest appreciation to Charles Chuck W. Barger III for his willingness to serve the citizens of Rockbridge County as a dedicated and effective member of the Rockbridge County Tourism Corridor Overlay Board from July 2002 to April 2023. Adopted this 26th day of June 2023.
Want to vote on that?
Do I have a motion?
Yes, ma'am. I
Second.
we approve.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
And the vice chair votes yes. Chair, can we have a picture?
Chuck, you want to come on up? Embarrass you.
I got it. Hold on.
A lot of work, several years, sir.
Maybe have a boiler. No, it's actually a voice. No, I'm sorry. Much better. All right, thank you. And gosh. Yeah, we gotta get
Oh, Mr. Lewis alluded to other records. Are there others? There's just the one on my sheet.
No, these got the financials. Right.
Citizens' comments. At this time, we will open the citizen comments. Please address the board stating your name and magisterial district and limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. Is there anyone signed up to speak in the room?
No, ma'am, no.
Okay. Is there anyone online who has their hand raised to speak?
No, ma'am.
Is there anyone in the meeting room who wishes to address the board but did not sign up to speak? All righty. We will move on to the approval of the June 12th, 2023 minutes. Has everyone had the chance to review the draft minutes? If not,
Move to approve.
okay. Is that a second from Mr. Lewis? You'll have a second to approve? Yeah, I know correct, but you can, you can. And then you can
I'll second the
abstain.
motion.
A second, thank you. Mr. Lyons.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Abstain.
And the vice chair votes yes. Consideration of the school appropriation resolution. Mr. Harrison?
Yes, there's a total of $125,688 in new grants for the school, and you have a copy of the resolution for your consideration to approve.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second. Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
And vice chair votes yes. All right, county closeout of FY 2022-2023, including the appropriation resolution and payment of bills. Mr. Harrison?
Yes. Total new appropriations, $570,512. For the construction project fund, $271,735, which is predicated on the general fund appropriation of that same amount. And total bills for this period is $690,230.02. And you have a copy of the resolution for your consideration.
All right, if there are no questions or comments, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
All right, Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
And vice chair votes yes. Appropriation of the 2023-2024 county budget. Mr. Harrison?
Skip one there.
Or did I?
Payroll.
Oh, excuse me. Approval of the payment of the final 2022-2023 payroll.
Yes, so this is what we request every year to allow us to proceed with paying all employees with their final June payroll bill, since the supervisors don't have a meeting between now and July.
Okay.
And that requires a motion of
All right.
on approval.
Do I have that motion?
So move.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Yep. And the vice chair votes yes. Appropriation of the 2023-2024 county budget.
Yes, this, of course, as the board is aware, you've already adopted a budget. This is appropriating the funds. The appropriations are in the same amount as the budget you adopted. The total general fund is $56,753,561. The ARPA fund is $4,208,895. The construction project fund is $227,928. And the capital purchases fund is $690,006. I'd also like to mention, Mr. Suter and I have finished drafting the budget book. The only thing we're waiting on is the adoption of the state budget. And that won't affect, that'll affect the narrative more than anything if there's any substantial changes, because any financial changes would have had to take an amendment by the Board of Supervisors. But I just want to bring that to your attention. But anyway, the copy of the resolution is available for your consideration.
All righty. Are there any questions for Mr. Harrison?
I move we approve.
Okay.
Second.
All righty. Supervisor Lewis?
Aye.
Supervisor Lyons?
Yes.
And vice chair votes yes. Appropriation of the FY 2023-2024 school division budget. Mr. Harrison.
Yes, this is an appropriation resolution for these Rockbridge County schools. The total school education fund is $40,090,489. And total appropriations for the cafeteria fund is $1,173,444 for FY 24.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Motion?
Approve.
Okay.
Second.
All righty. Supervisor Lewis
Aye.
and Supervisor Lyons.
Yes.
And vice chair votes yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Update from the Natural Bridge State Park.
Yes, recently I notified the board that Natural Bridge State Park has finally transitioned to fee simple ownership by the Commonwealth of Virginia. The state park was the first and only state park to have been privately owned, but operated as a state park. And I'd like to give a little background for context. This started back in 2013 when I received a courtesy call from a broker in Roanoke telling me that the 1,500 plus or minus acre property would be divided into lots and sold off. And that liquidation would include the bridge itself, which is, of course, the namesake of Rockbridge County. The board at that time determined to advocate strongly to bring the property into state park status, and then potentially even national park was considered. Resolutions were adopted, trips made to Richmond, plans were developed, and in the interest of time right now, I won't go into all the work and advocacy attributed to many individuals and groups. But suffice it to say that thanks to a true grassroots community effort and support from legislators such as Delegate Terry Austin, Senator Emmett Hanger, and Senator Cree Deeds, on September 24th, 2016, the Natural Bridge became Virginia's 37th state park in a fairly grand celebration with a lot of kids and the governor. Since that time, work has continued to finally get the property into fee simple ownership, as I stated, by the Department of Conservation and Recreation. And on June 15th, on the, ironically, the 86th anniversary of the creation of the Virginia State Park System, that deal was quietly closed, and DCR is now the owner of the park. This brings the project full circle with the 2014 board's hope and intent to forever keep the park publicly accessible. I have handed the board out a copy of the original board's 2014 resolution for your recollection. At the center of these efforts is park manager Jim Jones, who's with us tonight. When the park first opened in 2016, DCR wisely tapped Jim to lead it. Since then, he is integrated into our community, serving in many volunteer roles and even president of the Chamber of Commerce. And over the years, he has assembled a remarkable team, providing many, many visitors with a quality experience and sending them on to other attractions in our area, which is very important to us. Again, Jim's with us this evening, and he's asked to give an update on the park in this historic occasion.
Appreciate it. And thank you for having me here tonight. I've got a few notes here. First, let me say thank you for your all's recognition during Peace Officers Week, including us in that. We really do appreciate that. It means a lot. On my way up here, I was thinking of a Tracy Lawrence song, You Find Out Who Your Friends Are. And it's kind of like what Spencer was talking about early on. And if you haven't heard the song, Google it up and listen to it. And you realize that all it takes is a phone call. And the reason I'm saying that is because after we took ownership of the property, the infrastructure is ours. The power lines that are on there are ours. And in this small storm that we had, the tree falls on the power line and it's the park's responsibility. A couple phone calls are made, folks show up and take care of it. So couldn't be in a better place. And I'm really, really humbled to be here as part of this. So it's one of those things that I was communicating with my boss about. And he says, as a park ranger, did you ever think you'd be doing something like this? My dad asked me as a park ranger, did you ever think that you'd be running one of the largest retail operations in a Virginia state park? And I said, no, nor did I ever think I'd be operating a wastewater treatment plant, but we are. And with that segue, I wanted to let you know that the retail space, the merchandise that happens here at Natural Bridge is 25% of what the whole state's merchandise is. Now that's just the merchandise sales, not revenues for camping and admissions and things like that. But that's there's a total of $4 million. So the park generates $1 million plus in just merchandise sales from there. So you're thinking
Yeah, it seems amazing. What are you selling?
a lot of t-shirts. Our business managers have worked together as a team, like Spencer had said, and have come up with some really unique and interesting and really creative and keepsakes and souvenirs that people really enjoy. So yeah, those are some of the things that are going on. And not just that, but I wanted to let you know that it was $874,000 in merchandise that we've done so far in this fiscal year. And the total earnings for our fiscal year, including all the other revenues that we generated, admissions and costs like that, is 1.6 million so far in this fiscal year. We're third in the state to two other parks. Those are Pocahontas, which is in Chesterfield County. They have overnight accommodations, they have swimming pools and a lot of other day use activities, concert venues that are there, and First Landing in Virginia Beach. And they also have cabins and camping. So this little 1,500 acre day use park is playing with the big boys, and with our master plan as it begins to develop out and things come online, overnight camping and activities like that. I think the rest of the state will be playing for second place. So we're quite proud of that. I wanted to let you know that this past Memorial Day weekend, the 27th, the Saturday, $31,307 is what we took in as a revenue day, the highest revenue day in 7 years. So it's just continuing to grow. What's new at the park? Right now, we're focusing on operating a park. We just finished putting in Thistle Ridge Disc Golf Course, which is sponsored by the Rockbridge Community Health Foundation, Washington and Lee, the Friends of Natural Bridge State Park, and supported by the efforts of the Rockbridge Disc Golf Club and Rockbridge Outdoors. So we've got that in place, and we also have a 3-site group primitive campground that's in place. Very primitive, no water, porta-johns, and so our goal is not to compete with what Jellystone does or what KOA does, and we provide a service that is unique and different. But just wanted to let you know that those are some of the things that are going on. And 7 years ago, I kind of joked tongue in cheek and said, we'll pay it off in 10. Little did I know standing here today, having done this.
Well,
And
everybody that knows you is not surprised.
thank you, right? It's not just me, and we all know that. There's a lot more people that are involved in this, and they're back there at the park taking care of things now. I'll probably duck out here shortly because we've got a friends meeting that's going on as we're meeting here right now. So I'll scoot out after this, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it coming.
We'll also quickly note that we are in discussions with the DCR and the state on the potential to capitalize on plans that have been in place for many years to potentially extend public water down to the park. With the main contribution coming from the state.
All righty. We'll move on to the draft economic development strategic plan update. Ms. Flint?
Glad we're getting this in because Brandy's supposed to be at the
I'm
Friends
going to that
meeting.
meeting as well.
All right.
In your package, I included an update. So over the last 2 months, I've been working on getting some feedback on the draft plan. So I've gotten some additional feedback. I gave a presentation this afternoon to the Chamber Economic Development Committee, which I think was pretty well received. So I'm going to continue adding feedback into the plan and working with the executive committee of the steering committee to do some updates. And then I will provide you a copy of the final draft by July 10th. And at that time, I'd like to have input from you by the 17th in order to have it on the agenda for the 24th of July.
All righty. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent.
All righty. Let's see, should be able to squeeze this in, I think. Consideration of the fuel bid awards. Mr. Harrison.
Yes, thank you. A copy of a resolution awarding the bids for fuel delivery. This year, there's two different companies. Holzman is the lowest on 3 locations, and Royal Aquarium is the lowest on 3 other aquarium locations. All 6 locations, the fuel is significantly cheaper than the current year. I just read one of them off. For example, regular 87 octane is currently at 3.5099 per gallon, and it's dropping to 2.82. So just, and we see that on all the categories dropping. And the recommendation is to put this resolution authorizing Mr. Suter to execute the contracts.
All righty. Do we have a motion for that?
Move we approve as presented.
All right.
Second.
All right. Supervisor Lewis,
Aye.
Supervisor Lyons,
Yes.
and the vice chair votes yes. All righty. We can get through this. Roro Board of Directors, a 1 4-year term that will expire 6/30/2027. The appointment was carried over from the June 12th meeting. One application has been received by Travis Patterson. It was carried over because it's in your district,
Well, thank
and we wanted you to be able to weigh in.
Well, I wholeheartedly recommend Mr. Patterson. I'm excited that we have another parent who's involved in RARO already, who's willing to take their time to try to make it always better.
Okay.
So in short, I move that we approve Mr. Patterson.
All righty.
Second.
All right. Mr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mr. Lyons,
Yes.
and the chair, vice chair votes yes. All righty. It brings us right up. Have I missed anything, Mr. Suter?
You have not. And you've got
Alrighty.
5 minutes.
We will take a small recess until 6 o'clock, and the public hearing will begin at that time. We will resume the meeting. We have a public meeting. Mr. Sladen, we have, will you shepherd us through this, please? Thank you.
We have two public hearings related to planning and zoning matters. Bear with me here. Let me get caught up with y'all. Get this caught up. Well, yes, we have two public hearings related to planning and zoning matters. The first one is an application from Mr. and Mrs. Rao. It is a conditional rezoning application. A little bit of details on the property. It is identified as 8 Hayes Creek Road, Brownsburg, Virginia. Owned by Samuel F. and Beth Rao, tax map numbers 26A-1-1 and 26A-1-3A. So get everyone oriented here. I'm going to turn this into a laser pointer if you don't mind. So the outlined in orange are the two properties. This is identified at 8 Hayes Creek here, and is just a smaller property in the essentially southwestern corner. Total between the two, so all properties involved per survey and per tax records, is 0.26 acres total. Currently located in the residential zoning district with one single family dwelling on it. So to review the zoning briefly in the area, the yellow on the map is residential. The red on the map is business. So the property is contiguous to the Sprint building to the south and a vacant building owned by Sprint, I believe, to the south. And then the former bank building that is now a single family dwelling to the south also. Directly across the street was a rezoning application, a conditional rezoning application that allowed 6 total uses, but the current use under construction now is a short-term rental. And that's identified as these two parcels, again, conditionally rezoned sometime in the mid 2015-ish, I think. Again, currently located in the general business zone with one single family dwelling on it. As far as the conditional part of the rezoning application, Mr. and Mrs. Rao have made an application to conditionally rezone the 0.26 acres from the residential zoning district to the general business zoning district. The purpose of the rezoning application is to provide for a short-term whole house rental of the existing dwelling. The conditional rezoning includes a proffer statement from the Raos that limits the use of the property to a single family dwelling, a bed and breakfast homestay, a bed and breakfast inn, and or a tourist home. Additionally, there's a second proffer that limits the bed and breakfast homestay, bed and breakfast inn, and or tourist home will be limited to the rental of 1 or 2 bedrooms. As far as the Planning Commission recommendation, on May 10th, 2023, the Planning Commission opened the public hearing for a conditional rezoning request. The Planning Commission continued the public hearing to its June 14th, 2023 meeting. Essentially, the purpose of the continuation was allow for more PC members to be, Planning Commission members to be present and other members to take a site visit to the property. At the June 14th, 2023 meeting, the Planning Commission closed the public hearing and has recommended approval of the rezoning application with acceptance of the proffers as drafted. With that, I'd like to turn the floor over to the applicants to review additional details on the rezoning, conditional rezoning request, and answer any questions the board may have. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sam Rao. My wife Beth and I wish to have the property at 8 Hayes Creek Road in Brownsburg rezoned with proffers to operate as a tourist home for whole house overnight stays. We are the owners of 8 Hayes Creek Road, also known as the Lucas House in Brownsburg. The Lucas House of 1785 beginning is unique as it is located in a mixed-use vicinity. The two properties to the south of us are both zoned business, the Sprint Chantel building and what is known as the old Brownsburg Bank building that is owned by Dr. and Mrs. Arnold. The two properties adjacent to the Lucas House to the north and directly across Hayes Creek Road are also zone business. They're known as the Brownsburg Store and the Brownsburg Post Office. The store is now undergoing extensive renovations by owner Bill McGough to rezone, to revive this once failing building. The property located directly across Route 252 is the Brownsburg Museum. Its listed owner is the Brownsburg Community Association. Our water supply is provided through the Brownsburg Water Company. Our septic system is an Advantex engineered private sewage treatment plant. It's been registered with the Department of Environmental Quality and the Virginia Department of Health. And the zoning office can attest that both the 2022 and the 2023 yearly inspections have been completed and are satisfactory. The maximum number of guests for overnight stays will be limited to 4. We have a semicircle drive with a tangent that easily accommodates up to 5 off-street parking spaces. There will be no pets as our insurance carrier prohibits it. We will discourage small children due to the high porches and the stairwells in the house. We will always maintain the historical character of our property. It will still be our second home, and we will entertain our friends in Brownsburg as well. The Lucas House is in a historical district that once contained businesses, stores, taverns, blacksmith shops, and overnight lodging facilities to accommodate guests traveling by stagecoach between Stanton and Lexington. The Lucas House has been used as a store for much of its 235 years. The guests that come to the Lucas House will generate revenue for Rockbridge County, to stores, mills, wineries, breweries, the Horse Center, museums, restaurants, and the sort. We ask that you, the Board of Supervisors, act favorably on our request. We have followed the law with the process. We have done our due diligence in a timely manner, and we ask of you the same. I will be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Gentlemen,
I don't have anything. Yeah, I was just glad you mentioned the post office. That's part of the business zone there.
all right, if no other comments from questions from the board, I will open the public hearing.
There's no one signed up to speak.
All righty. I will close the public hearing. And sorry, nope, is there somebody, I'm sorry, excuse
all
me.
right.
Yes, is there anybody online?
No one wishing to speak.
All righty,
I will note that we received 3 written comments
That's
and
correct.
they have been passed to the board.
okay.
That was from an Earhart, a Shingleton, and a Keys, if I recall correctly. Yes.
All righty. Is there anybody that did not sign up that would at this point like to say anything? Okay. Additional board discussion. Do we have anything?
I believe the operation that the riders are suggesting will enhance Brownsburg. The desire of Brownsburg is to have visitors, have people come through. What better way to get them than to have them stay and spend money right there, not just pass through. We need to consider this is not just the rouse that this applicant goes with the property. So it's important for me to note that it is a conditional zoning, so it can only be used for this purpose for business purposes. It can't be other things. So that refines that request to me pretty specifically. And if we're, as a member of the Brownsburg Community Association myself, I want people to come see the history in the museum and experience the niceties of the village. So I know we're missing two members tonight, but I believe it's a good project and it's had, we have recommendation from the planning commission. They've had two meetings to review it, due to some absences there. So I move we approve the application as presented.
Second.
Pardon me?
I think we did. I think we need to close it down.
Yeah, okay. So is there any other discussion or you complete?
Yeah, close.
Well, she had.
I did close. Okay. So I will close the public hearing now. And,
I make a motion to approve the application as presented.
Second.
all righty. Supervisor Lewis,
Aye.
Supervisor Lyons.
Yes.
And the vice chair votes yes. All righty.
The second public hearing we have this evening is a similar request. It's a request from Mountain Valley Rentals C LLC, and it's a conditional rezoning application. A little bit of the property details here. It's identified, outlined in orange here. There's three properties. Get to here in a second. Identified as 679 Long Hollow Road, Buena Vista, Virginia, owned by Mountain Valley Rentals C LLC. Mr. Everett Beverly is here, the owner of the LLC, is in attendance this evening representing the project, and as well as his daughter Audrey Kramer. The tax map numbers is 77A-1-16A. That particular parcel has the dwelling on it located here. That consists of 0.727 acres total. And then the other two tax parcels are identified as D 7713-1D and 7713X1. Total between those two parcels is 1.24 acres. So the total rezoning request, conditional rezoning request, is for 1.967 acres per tax records. As you can see, again, yellow is zoned residential, currently located in the residential zoning district R1 with some business uses around it. This is going to be Pinky Store, commonly referred to as Pinky Store here. Just side note, we have a pending application for next month to rezone that from residential to business to get them in compliance. There's one single family dwelling on the property, again, identified as 679 Long Hollow Road. The conditional part of it, Mr. Beverly has made an application to conditionally rezone the 1.967 acres from R1 to the general business B1 zoning district. The purpose of this rezoning application is to provide for a short-term whole house rental of the existing dwelling. As far as the conditional part of it, the conditional rezoning includes a proffer from Mr. Beverly that limits the use of the property to a single family dwelling, a bed and breakfast homestay, bed and breakfast inn, and or tourist home. As far as the Planning Commission recommendation, on June 14th, 2023, the Planning Commission held its public hearing and has recommended approval of the rezoning application with acceptance of the proffer statement. With that, I'd like to turn the floor over to Ms. Farmer and review any additional details that I may have missed and answer any questions the board may have.
I'm sorry, Chris, can you go back one slide?
Sure.
You can come on up, ma'am. I'm sorry. It's fine. Yeah, what's the blue line there? It's not the road.
Would that be a drainage ditch?
Runs all the way down.
I think that does represent a creek. I could tell you for sure as we go through here.
No big deal. It's
unusual because usually they're not that blue, but they have changed the colors usually for light blue when it's creek.
You're not sharing anymore, either, Chris.
No, that's correct. Yeah. It is. It represents, okay, drainage creek, that type of thing. Yes, sir.
Hello,
Hello.
my name is Adria Carmer, and I am Everett's daughter as well as his assistant. I run his landscaping company, so I'm here to take care of doing all the talking for him, but he's here to also answer questions if you guys have any that he can answer that I cannot. So to the Rockbridge County Zoning Board, the Board of Supervisors, and to all concerned parties, I am Adria Carmer, Everett Beverly's daughter, representing Mountain Valley Rentals C LLC. Everett is a lifetime local resident in the city of Buena Vista, operating a landscaping company, Mowing and More INC, for the last 20 years, as well as two rental companies, Mountain Valley Rentals B LLC that runs Buena Vista properties, and Mountain Valley Rentals C LLC that runs the county properties. Mountain Valley Rental Companies B and C own multiple long-term residential and commercial properties in and around Rockbridge County, including in Buena Vista. I haven't counted them lately, somewhere around 80 properties that run long-term housing for people in the community, students as well as families, and anybody that needs housing. One property in particular is 679 Long Hollow Road, Buena Vista, Virginia. We would like you all to consider rezoning from residential zoning to a business zone. Our goal is to provide our local college families and friends, tourists, and adventure seekers an affordable short-term rental option that is conveniently located while also providing privacy to our guests and our neighbors. Our neighbors is very important for their have peace at home. We understand peace at home. We have a great rapport with our neighbors. On the slide where he showed that it was some business action there, my dad actually owns that business zoning there that used to be Leo's Barbershop. So we already own a piece, right in front of it. So could we, Mr. Slayton, could we go back to the map so I can show them why it's such a big parcel that we're asking for? Mountain Valley Rentals C purchased this property last fall and has done a great job removing dangerous trees from around the cabin structure, maintaining the gravel driveway, landscaping, as well as remodeling and updating the interior for aesthetics. Stays at this cute cabin would be limited to no more than 6 guests. There is adequate off-street parking and should not affect our neighbors' parking at all. We value our neighbors' peace at home, as I said earlier, and will continue to work with them, gathering feedback to help us have the use of this property to provide lodging for families and friends of local students and travelers. Use of the property would most likely be on weekends with some sporadic weekday usage. This home is served by a well and septic system maintained by Mountain Valley Rentals C LLC. As our community and schools continue to develop and evolve, we hope that you consider rezoning this property for the benefit of the evolving community, family, and friends, which we will provide another option of simple living beyond the surrounded hotels and motels. I have a 5-year-old. It does make a difference if we choose another vacation rental versus a hotel, of her running down the hallway and disrupting folks that may or may not have plans the next day and have to get up early, catch flights, whatever the case may be. But I wanted him to bring this back up to show you the reason the other 2 parcels are included in this. So originally, we were just investing in a property, 679, which is where the residence is located. However, there is an encroachment on Mountain Valley C already owns the back 2 properties that he said is 1.24 acres, I believe.
The encroachment's off the rear side here.
Yes,
And
so there's already an encroachment on the property. So when we went to do our application, we needed to go ahead and add in those other parcels back there as well, which as it was stated, there is a creek there. That only access to those back parcels is through 679 Long Hollis driveway, and they have their own driveway there. So you can see the little strip.
Sure, put the aerial one.
Yeah.
It goes extremely slow, but I'm gonna try.
Can you just pull up the original? Well,
Here goes.
Yeah, so the third, so 693 right there at the third in the row there, that is business zoning. And when Everett bought that piece, it came with the parcels that are behind 679 now. So when 679 came available, how often does it come available that you have adjoining property that comes up for sale? And it was an encroachment on the back of our property already. So it was, it was bought. And now, because we have so many long-term, we really wanted to provide the community with the short-term and be able to help in that way as well. We have a lot of housing and we help a lot of people through a lot of channels in Rockbridge County with RAH and Project Horizon. We know everybody on first name basis to try to help the community find housing. That's very important to us. So I just wanted to explain briefly why there was such a large parcel on this application.
So a little bit to the encroachment there, the original application was solely for this purpose, for the one parcel of land. And when we pulled the plat actually shows the encroachment onto this one. So obviously it would have been problematic to have a whole house rental with an encroachment of that same use on a neighboring property. And so we were able to both, the fortunate thing is it had all recently been surveyed. So we're very firm understanding of what is being, the meets and bounds associated with the rezoning application. As always, I should add.
So is that wooded behind there?
It is.
Yes.
It is. It's on a bank like this. I mean, actually, it's 79, it's got the best view of land, but it is also still on a slight hill.
What creek is that?
I don't think it's a name creek. I think it's just like a tribute, sometimes they don't even represent creeks. It's just a drainage type thing. And you can see with this one, you can see the low point of the drainage area.
Okay.
But there's no floodplain associated with it. There's no regulatory floodplain associated with the creek. And I'm not even, it could very well just be a drainage.
All righty. Thank
Any
you.
questions for me?
It's a very similar application to what we just
Yes.
worked with. Are there any proffers with this one? Just to be clear. I don't-
Yes.
Yes.
The proper statements included. And the planning commission did recommend with the acceptance of the proffer. The proffer statement from Mr. Beverly states that limits the use of the property to a single family dwelling, a bed and breakfast homestay, a bed and breakfast inn and or tourist home.
Okay.
It's verbatim, that language is verbatim the first one, that we did not go into the number of bedrooms because of the conventional drain field in this case.
Same thing. Conditionally, this is what it is.
It limits the
Yeah,
property
limit
to
to other
these uses.
uses.
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. Thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing.
No one signed up.
All righty. Is there anybody online
No one wishing to speak.
or anybody that has not signed up that would like to speak? Okay. Then I will close the public hearing. Gentlemen, anything that you would like to, that you want to know?
That's my questions, man.
Okay. Then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Supervisor Lyons,
Yes.
Supervisor Lewis,
Aye.
and the vice chair votes yes. All righty. Board comments. Anything else that, any committee reports?
I do not have anything this evening, man.
Okay. So if there's no other business,
Move to adjourn.
all righty,
Second.
all right. Supervisor Lyons
Yes.
and Supervisor Lewis
Aye.
and the vice chair votes yes. Good evening, everybody. We're adjourned.
Guys.
Huh? Yeah.